The world's first underground railway opened in London in 1863 as a way of reducing street congestion, and over 150 years, millions of commuters have used the underground every day. However, over the years, there have been many dramas and fatalities that have left their mark on this famous network, leaving paranormal footprints. Covent Garden Underground Station. Covent Garden Station is situated in the theatre district of London's West End and is also the location of a famous ghost. William Terriss was an actor born in London in 1847 and was a popular melodramatic and Shakespearean actor in the Victorian era. On the 16th of December 1897, as he was entering the stage door at the Adelphi Theatre in Maiden Lane, 50-year-old Terriss was critically stabbed by a deranged actor by the name of Richard Archer Prince. Terriss once helped the young actor find work, but Prince became mentally unstable due to chronic alcoholism. Unfortunately, Terriss was forced to dismiss the young actor from a minor role when he became offensive, but continued to assist him financially and helped him find other acting work. But due to his drinking, he eventually became destitute and unemployable, and took the life of Terriss due to jealousy. At first, the ghost of Terriss started to appear in the Adelphi Theatre and in Maiden Lane, where he had been stabbed. Other actors started to hear strange tapping noises coming from the dressing room that was used by Terriss, and unexplained footsteps could be heard backstage. On other occasions, strange glowing orbs could be seen, and at one time was seen to merge into a human form and then started floating above the stage. 58 years later, in 1955, a ticket collector at Covent Garden Underground Station by the name of Jack Hayden witnessed a well-dressed figure walking up some stairs after the station had been closed, and then again spotted the same figure in the staff room. The man was dressed in an old-fashioned grey suit. However, Hayden was not the only witness to the ghostly spectre, as the porter also witnessed the man dressed in Victorian clothing. A short time later, the ticket collector saw a photo of William Terriss and identified him as the ghostly actor. Bethnal Green Station. During World War II, many of London's underground stations were used as air raid shelters, and one of these stations was Bethnal Green in the East End of London. On March 3, 1943, Britain did a bombing mission over Berlin, in which Germany was then expected to retaliate. At 8:17 p.m, the air raid sirens went off, forcing hundreds of people in the area to take shelter in the underground station. The sounds of sirens were terrifying as the people rushed into the damp and badly lit steps and platform, but when the sounds of exploding bombs could be heard, panic then ensued. At the very bottom of the stairwell, a mother holding a baby lost her footing and fell, creating a domino effect which resulted in hundreds of people falling down the stairs. With more people rushing into the station, people were now being crushed, and within a short time, 173 people had lost their lives, including 62 children. Ever since that tragedy, and mainly late at night, London Underground employees claim to have heard the sounds of women and children screaming and crying, but the station is empty. That horrific episode in March 1943 left a permanent scar on Bethnal Green Underground Station, and would be a classic case of residual haunting, which echoes of traumatic events once past. King's Cross. A massive tunnel ties together the two mainline stations of King's Cross and St Pancras. On 18th November 1987, a small fire started at around 7:30 p.m. under an escalator. The small fire increased in size, then in an instant had spread very rapidly through the air, and due to the intense heat, it then rose up into the ticket hall, becoming a huge inferno that burned for many hours. All in all, 31 people perished in the fire, yet strangely, the trains continued running on the line. It appears that out of the horror of that fire, an apparition is often seen by passengers in one of the tunnels that leads into the underground station. The apparition is that of a woman of about 24 years of age, dressed in jeans with 80s-style clothing with long brown hair. The unfortunate woman is seen with her arms outstretched, crying hysterically. Strangely though, her apparition was not seen until 11 years later in 1998, when a passerby saw the distressed woman and offered her assistance, only to see another passenger walk through the woman. The young woman then promptly vanished. Many passengers claimed that they could smell smoke when the girl was seen. Over the years, many other passengers have also experienced the same distressed woman. Is this woman a genuine ghost, or due to the horror of the fire, is she a classic case of residual haunting, following the horror of the inferno that left a powerful emotional imprint? Elephant and Castle. Although there have never been any reports of tragic accidents at Elephant and Castle, there have been many ghostly sightings and sounds reported by passengers and station staff. When the station is closed, staff have heard the sounds of someone running along the platform. Then doors would mysteriously open, along with the strange tapping noises. There have also been a lot of reports of the ghost of a young woman who gets on the train before vanishing as it pulls away from the platform. The following incident happened to a driver on the London Underground who witnessed an apparition. It was about 6 p.m. when he arrived at the Elephant and Castle station and boarded the train. He then made his way to the front of the carriage as he was about to accompany the driver at the front. At this stage, the driver had not arrived, so the man placed his bag on the seat next to him and waited for the driver to arrive. As he was waiting, he observed a young woman walk through the carriage where the man had to move aside in order for her to pass. A short time later, the driver arrived, where they both moved to the front of the train to the driver's seat. As the train was ready to depart the station, he noticed that the young woman was not in the carriage, but she could not have left the carriage, as she would have had to have passed by him in order to leave the train. He could not understand where she could have gone, because he had a full view of the carriage and platform at that time. He then informed the driver about his concerns, because if she'd walked past him to leave the train, her only other exit was to walk down the tunnel, which would have been extremely dangerous. The driver's response was totally nonchalant when he replied, "Oh, her. We hear about her all the time, and she's even been in the papers." Farringdon Station. Over the years, many people have been horrified by blood-curdling screams whilst standing at Farringdon Station, which is situated on the Circle, Hammersmith and Sydenham metropolitan lines. In order to find out where the terrifying sounds originated, you need to go back to the 18th century, where a young girl lost her life in a brutal manner. In 1758, 13-year-old Anne Naylor and her sister were serving an apprenticeship to a woman called Sarah Metyard. Metyard and her daughter ran a milliner's on Bruton Street in West London. Both the mother and daughter were not very pleasant people to work for, as they treated their apprentices appallingly. Many of the unfortunate young workers were beaten, tortured and starved. Unfortunately for Anne Naylor, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time when Sarah Metyard took out her anger on the poor young girl, and after a severe beating was critically injured, and her body was initially placed in the attic. The remaining employees of the cruel woman were forced to keep her demise a secret and would carry food up to the attic pretending she was still alive. They later disposed of the body by cutting it up and incinerating it in the fireplace, and what remained of the poor girl was unceremoniously dumped in an open sewer in Chick Lane, which is now the site of Farringdon Station. Fortunately, Sarah Metyard did not get away with her brutal slaying when a night watchman found the remains of the poor girl and reported his findings to the authorities. Initially, they believed the remains were that of a surgeon's dissection, and the matter went no further. 4 years later, the mother and daughter had a falling out, and the daughter went to the authorities to claim what her mother had done. Both mother and daughter were tried at the Old Bailey and were both executed on July the 19th, 1768. 10 years after the initial slaying of Anne Naylor, Farringdon Station was opened, close to where her remains were dumped. It is believed that the blood-curdling screams that people hear at the station are that of Anne Naylor in the final throes of her life, which have left a lasting imprint on the surrounding environment. Liverpool Street Station. Liverpool Street Station is one of London's biggest stations, but is reportedly believed to be one of its most haunted. As with all of the London Underground, it is monitored by CCTV cameras. In 2000, one of the monitors of the CCTV spotted a man dressed in white overalls standing on the station at night when it was supposed to be closed. The monitor, or line controller, informed the station's supervisor, Steve Coates, who went to approach the man and advise him that the station was closed, but was unable to locate him. When Coates went back to his office to advise the line controller that he found nobody there, he was shocked to find that the controller had told him that while he was searching for the man in white overalls, the man was standing right next to him. Coates then went down for another search, and again the line controller could see both men standing next to each other, but again Coates could see nothing. Coates later found a pair of white overalls on a bench on the platform, but never found the man who was supposedly wearing them. Aldgate Station. Aldgate Station opened in 1876 and is built on an old plague pit. One day an electrician was working at the station and slipped between the tracks and hit a live power rail, and in doing so received a 20,000 volt shock, knocking him out, but fortunately not killing him. Later, some of his colleagues claimed that as he was lying unconscious, they could see the transparent figure of an elderly lady kneeling over him and stroking his hair. It is not known whether she was a dead relative or a guardian angel, but whatever the case, he survived an incident that should have been fatal.